Hi, you're on the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. I want to take a look at globalism at work in our country and in our world. The Berggruen Institute, I've never heard of it either, announced last Wednesday that the 2019 Berggruen Prize for Philosophy and Culture, it's a $1 million prize, would go to Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And this would happen essentially because she's used her position to advance liberal causes. Now, Mr. Berggruen, who's the founder, said in a news release, quote, "Throughout her career, Ginsburg has used the law to advance ethical and philosophical principles of equality and human rights as basic tenets of the USA." He went on to say her contributions have shaped our way of life and way of thinking and have demonstrated to the world the importance of the rule of law in disabling discrimination. Now, the Berggruen Institute is known as a pro-China think tank that unashamedly supports China's invasive social credit system, which allows that country's communist regime to exert even more control over its citizens' lives. Another project by the same organization is called the World Post. The World Post is a mix of radical environmentalism, anti-right fear-mongering, and cheerleading for China's oppressive government. And for Justice Ginsburg to allow herself to be used in this way says something either about her mental acuity or about her patriotism. Would you let yourself be used this way? I hope not. Over in Muncie, Indiana, back in October, about the middle of October of this year, Ball State University's English Department, University Writing Program and Office of Inclusive Excellence, recently hosted a presentation to, quote, engage with the question of how English language practices in college classrooms contribute to white supremacy. The title of the 75-minute guest lecture was, quote, freeing our minds and innovating our pedagogy from white language supremacy, end of quote. It was given by Asao Inoue, a professor and the Associate Dean of the College of Integrative Sciences and Arts at Arizona State University. During his presentation, he said, "We are all implicated in white supremacy. You, me, all of us. The question is how?" He says, because white supremacist systems, like all systems, reproduce themselves as a matter of course. This includes reproduction of dormant white middle-class monolingual speech standards for literacy and communication. White language supremacy, according to Inoue, is, quote, the condition in classrooms, schools, and societies where rewards are given in determined ways to people who can most easily reach them, because those people have more access to the preferred and embodied white language practices. And part of that access is a structural assumption that what is reachable at a given moment for the normative white monolingual English user is reachable for all. Now, I don't know if you followed that paragraph or not, but I label that paragraph as complete nonsense, because it's an assumption that can be made regarding any language you happen not to either know or in which you are not fluent. The language is not the problem. The language is not a supremacy system established to keep you down. The eminent professor went on to say, apparently, should your school seek to teach the English language and its grammar, your school can be racist and produce racist outcomes. Perhaps if this school was in China or Germany or Russia, but not if it's in America. English is our language. Simple as that. That, he says, even should it have expressed its values and commitments to anti-racism and social justice. It doesn't matter. In one of his slides, Inouye states that grading is the great way to protect the white property of literacy in schools and maintain the white supremacist status quo without ever being white supremacist or mentioning race. So stop grading? Simply pass or fail? Or perhaps let's just pass, everybody. He says we have to rethink how we assess writing if we want to address racism. Writing in his 2015 book, Anti-Racist Writing Assessment Ecologies, Teaching and Assessing Writing for a Socially Just Future. Why do these academics have to have titles that are 4 pages long? In another paper, he says, paper entitled A Gradeless Writing Course that focuses on labor and assessing, Inouye argued that writing teachers should calculate course grades by labor completed and dispense almost completely with judgments of quality when producing course grades. Do that, and then let's see if these people can get a job. You see, this is the danger in our colleges and our universities. These days, it seems the more expensive or prestigious they are, the more likely they are to warp your or your children's minds and hearts. Find a school that teaches a skill, not a philosophy. Now, these schools bring these nuts in who are educated far beyond their intelligence to overwhelm these heads full of mush with their academic prowess, their command of the English language or whatever, and they just throw all these 50-cent words at them and all these philosophies that sound like, oh yeah, well, that's it. They don't work. They don't work. You know what's happening in America today? Kids can't afford college. Their parents can't afford college. These kids are carrying tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt for college. In many cases, they're never going to get out from under it. And they're coming out with degrees in philosophy, liberal arts education. You know what a liberal arts education prepares you for? Absolutely nothing. Go to a college, go to a 4-year liberal arts course. Well, let's be fair. I'll take 2 years of a liberal arts course. Get straight A's, and when you come out, you will have a high school diploma. No, not a high school diploma you get today. A high school diploma you could have gotten 30 years ago. But you're going to pay $40,000 for that. And you're not going to be able to get a job. That liberal arts degree merely says you're teachable and that you have some skills. That used to be what high school was about. Today, young people who want to really do something are going to technical schools. They're learning skills. They're there for a couple of years and they learn how to do something. They take that skill, they go get a job. I know a man that I ran into who is a computer programmer. And periodically he goes back to a technical school here in town and gets certified in another form of what he does. It costs him very little money, relatively speaking. but being certified in another form of computer whatever gets him more work. He's got an MBA. No, I take that back. He's got a graduate degree in computers. He says useless. Cost him a small fortune. Better just get certified. Go get a job. They'll teach you what they want you to know. Employers want people who are teachable. Now, that doesn't say you can do that and be a surgeon, but in everyday life, these academics with their language skills and their philosophies are driving us crazy. And they're costing your kids money.